This is Lost Legacy, and you're watching Heavy New York.
What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at Alto Music in Brooklyn, and we are here with Lost Legacy. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you very much for having us.
Brother.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here promoting the show at Blackthorn 51, March 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Big day.
Yep, it's going to be awesome for the record release show of In the Name of Freedom. Do you just want to talk about like how the making of this record was, like what the thought process was going into it, as for the mixing, recording, all that fun stuff?
Absolutely, brother. But after we did our first album, Aftermath, which was pretty much dealing with 9/11, I had a couple songs, ideas left over from that album, and then just seeing like all the events that occurred after, from riots in Milwaukee to our soldiers fighting abroad. I started writing some lyrics and some riffs together, and just putting some of these ideas together for just to talk about certain aspects of what might be going through some of our men and women's minds when they go like the song Frontline, talking about what might be running through their head. So, I pretty much jot down the ideas. Sometimes I have riffs, some music riffs, and I write lyrics too. And I really wanted to try to touch these certain subjects about, our men and women in the armed services and stuff like that.
That's great, and props to everybody who is currently serving.
God bless you all.
So, being that it is kind of like a direct follow-up to Aftermath, like, do you think people would maybe have a better understanding of In the Name of Freedom if they were kind of to go back and listen to Aftermath first? Is your album kind of like chronologically written in a way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's like a continuation in some aspects. If we would have had the time to do the whole Aftermath and this, it probably would have been a 20-song album. So there are some things that you could probably relate and see where it kind of connects, because we have, on the Aftermath, we had a song like Battle Cry and stuff like that, and talks about how, once again, our boys out there fighting and doing what they do for our country, for our freedoms.
Yeah.
And so you can see some of the relations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is there a time, like, you mentioned you had like lyrics sometimes written, so obviously you have a lot of meaning that you're looking outward. Could the meaning of the music and the subject matter determine the lyrics, can that determine the outcome of the composition itself in a way?
Yeah, well, I think from our perspective, a lot of the lyrics are Dave's. It's all of the lyrics are written by Dave, and one thing that we want to make clear and to everybody is that the intent behind the lyrics in our music is not to glorify war or that we're for war, but these people are fighting out there and doing something that people often forget about, and this is our way of honoring what they do for the country and to serve the country, but in no way, shape, or form has anything to do with us being for war. But when Dave writes the lyrics, he also is a guitar player, so he comes with a lot of the riffs in mind, and then we just sit all together in a room and start arranging it. So everybody puts a little bit of their own stamp to it, and as a band, we're fortunate that we all work well together. We don't tell each other what to do. We just sit down in the room and start playing through it and making arrangements, and that's how the music takes shape, and it's so far working for us.
Yeah. Do you guys have like a musical theory format? Because I saw with your use of kind of like incorporating like a power metal sort of element into your sound, like I like in the solos and in the riffs, is there do you know what scale you're working off of, or what chord progression, or is your guitar work rather improvised in a way?
No, we know what we're doing. I wouldn't say that we are really into the theoretical stuff, because we don't sit down and say, okay, we're going to go and write this based on the Phrygian scale and go from there. We just work around Dave's voice. We want to make sure that his voice is really what we want people to focus on the message. But we do understand exactly what we're doing. We know what the chord progressions are. We know, the scales and all that stuff. But that's not really the formula when we sit down to write music. It's more of what feels right, what complements him, because at the end of the day, I think a band at least for us, we believe that the message, the stuff that he's singing about, is really what we want people to grasp on. The music is just sort of like the icing on the cake.
Oh wow! So the message comes before the music. That's a bold move. That because sometimes lyrics or even just a subject matter is so secondary. Is some people don't even come up with an idea until like the instrumental tracks are
Right.
getting written. Now obviously there's so many different styles of music where a message is expressed. I mean, just in metal in general, Rage Against the Machine is very political.
Right.
You have bands that Sabaton sings about war and history.
Right.
Is there a specific reason why you choose the style of music that you play in order to support the subject matter that Lost Legacy is about?
Well, I think it comes from like a lot of the when I first got into metal and stuff like that. I was very into like death metal, thrash. So I like that element of the music where you might have these nice little melodies and all of a sudden you get bang, dun, 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 dun. I like to get the headbang and the moshing aspect of it. So I think it's everything comes together, whether it's death metal, thrash, a lot of the heavy metal bands like Maiden, Ed Guy, and all that. I think all those bands that I've listened to over years kind of influenced my kind of approach, where one minute might be a gallop, another minute might be just a straight rhythm, some notes riffing out. And it really depends on like how I feel about that song. If I'm very emotional about something, I might try to write a riff that actually kind of matches what the message is in the lyrics. Like if it's something that's painful, I want that kind of vibe to make it come through. Like that you feel like, oh man, this is what I really get what he's saying here. But then that mosher comes out of me, So then it's like the thrash element, So it's like boom, here you go. I mean, everybody's this is a nice little groove rhythm, and also the bang. Then it's like okay, let's get the elbows flying. Let's start,
Yeah.
And if you ever come and see us play, I mean, if I have a big stage, I'm running around like a nut.
Yeah.
Bad knee and all.
Impressive. When it comes to writing about these messages, could this be from both your personal experiences, or is there maybe kind of like research that is conducted into the subject matter that you're singing about?
I think it's because like almost every generation my family has served, and just seeing what a lot of the stuff like what our military has gone through, and like seeing dating back past wars and stuff, and how you see Vietnam vets and some of the, they lost out there. A lot of soldiers come back, they're homeless, and I watched like SEAL Team on Channel 2. I watch a lot of military stuff as well, and it brings tears to my eyes, because it's just like being from a family that has served, from my grandfather on down. I have 2 cousins right now that are serving now in the military, so it's like every generation of my family, my heart bleeds for them. And it's not I ain't trying to get political or use that as a platform to get any fame.
Yeah,
but
you're not using it as a calling card.
Not at all. It's just that comes at home, and
Right.
and
Yeah.
it hits me in the heart.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As Napoleon said, I mean, first of all, thank you to your family for serving, but as Napoleon said, a soldier will fight long and hard for a bit of colored ribbon.
It's
So
true.
It is true.
yeah, so I think for you to honor the troops in this style of music that you play, that clearly from listening to it takes a lot of effort to execute. I think that is great that you guys are doing that. So
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
excellent work. Could maybe for some people, is the goal clearly to inform a listener on what this goes through, or is there maybe any room in the music that could also be open to interpretation?
I think there's always room for interpretation. Right now we're focusing on the new record. It's coming out on March 20th in the name of freedom, but we also have a ton of material that we're currently writing for our follow-up records, and this time around we're going to have very varied subjects. So it's going to be very interesting because it's going to be touching different subjects about life in general, and Scotty, our other guitar player, is really into sci-fi, so he's got a couple of lyrics that he's put together about some of those things, and I put some lyrics together on some other subjects, and Dave has his own. So this time around, when we come around for the third record, there's going to be other stuff that we're going to be able to talk about, other stories that we're going to be able to tell people. No. But I do think that, what we're currently doing right now is themed. There's a theme that follows the first record into this one. And I think that once we kind of close this out, we're going to be expanding into other things that people will will clearly see that, we have so much more to say.
That's awesome. It seems like with every song that you make, or even with every arrangement that you make, that work it opens up new ideas for the
Absolutely.
next one. Like art clearly comes out of art for you guys.
Right.
Yeah. Here comes the most difficult question of the whole interview. I want you both to answer.
Okay.
How do you know when a song is done?
Oh, when we're completely satisfied the way it comes out. From start to beginning, especially when I write stuff, there's a lot of melodies in my head or like certain ideas, and I present it to the guys. I said, this is what I'm hearing over this, or this is, and like I'll turn to Jorge. I says, I think if you do a melody song for it, this is where I think kind of give them an idea what I would like to hear over something, and then they take it away from there. It's like if some of the songs I always write parts that have two sections for two different solos most of the times, because I have one in mind for him, and then I have one in mind for Scotty. So you get that 1-2 punch in there. So
I like that analogy, the 1-2 punch.
Right.
Try to top that one.
I know. Well, I think that's interesting because for me, for instance, on the record, there was one song, "Take Me Away," which I wrote the music for that, and Dave did the lyrics. My background is all in hard rock, so that's kind of the genre that I grew up on, and the hair metal from the 80s, so all the melodic players like George Lynch and Van Halen and Tony McAlpine and stuff like that. So I like the melody aspect of writing music, and then I focus on that because that's what I feel strongly about. And Scotty then is a technical guitar player, so he does all the shredding and all the crazy stuff on the guitar that's amazing. But when we write stuff together, I think that's it's fair to say that because we all have a say and we all contribute towards the arrangement of the music and everything, we kind of know it just feels right when it's done. And I think that when we were doing the pre-production for this album, we locked ourselves in the studio for 5 months, and the only thing we played were these songs, nothing else.
Wow.
Yeah.
So basically the idea behind that was that when we would get to the studio, we would literally sit down and nail everything in 1 or 2 takes. So this album is, most of what you're hearing is a first take or a second take with a couple of punch-ins, because we were so automatic already.
Yeah.
We didn't really want to go and do experimentation in the studio. We knew exactly what we wanted, and we hired a guy by the name of Tom Talata, and his studio is Coney's Productions. And I told him, listen, this is what we're looking for. We want to sound like a live band. We don't want to be overproduced. We don't want to really have a lot of stuff. We just want it to be crisp and clear. And he did a phenomenal job, and we're really proud of this record.
Yeah, definitely. It does have that. I'm impressed. So basically the studio is only for execution, not for experimentation, which is...
I think for us, that's what works. Because when you go into a studio and you start experimenting, there might be a lot of magic that happens, and I'm sure that a lot of bands find that magic. But I think for us, we already know exactly what we want. We know how we want for it to be portrayed to the listener. And we go in there, we already have a map. This is the way it's going to be. This is the way it's going to come out. And it works because you're not spending a lot of time in the studio. And we produce this album ourselves, before Pure Steel signed us. So, we had some goals in mind.
Definitely. And I have 2 more questions for you. Being a band from New York City, it's great to talk to a band from the 5 boroughs. I know that you guys play at Blackthorn 51 a lot. I know that that's kind of like your spot, and we have a great scene here with so many great venues. So, do you prefer to play in New York City in your hometown, or maybe at this point you want to try to expand outside the 5 boroughs a little bit more?
Well, it's interesting you say that because we love playing in New York. We're very proud of being New Yorkers, and we're very proud of being from the Bronx.
Yeah.
But, I think that what we found out last year was that we went on tour supporting Metal Church. And we played in Baltimore, we played in Minneapolis, we played in Pittsburgh. You know, we did some shows here in New York, and when we went out, we found that the support for metal in these places is really amazing. I mean, every single place we went to was packed, and everybody was into it, and people were participating, and they made us feel welcome. You know, at the end of each show, we have our own merchandise table and spot where we, you know, stand and meet people, and people will come to us, and we were completely surprised because people would say, "Hey guys, you guys want to come home and take a shower? You want me to cook you some dinner?" And we were like, "What?"
What? It's funny because like after every show, I like to eat chicken. You know, it's just I don't know what it is, but I have to eat chicken. So
I guess it's better than downing a bottle of vodka.
Exactly.
So I go up to the bar. We were going on that night at 10 o'clock, and it's this man next to me, and so I'm telling the lady at the bar, I says, "What time the kitchen close?" She says, "Oh, we close at 10. I said, "Because, you know, I want to know if you guys sell chicken tenders or some kind of chicken. I want." "Oh, we close at 10. I said, "Oh, man, we go." So the guy turns over to me and says, hey, buddy, I live like 4 miles down the road. You're more than welcome to come and see me." And I looked at him. You know, being from New York, you kind of pull back for a second because the guy's invited me to his home. He says, "You want burger, cheeseburger, whatever you want. If you guys need a shower." So I called Jorge over. I said, "This man just invited me to his house to eat. He's gonna cook for us." And then he was awesome because he came after the show. He sat down with us at the merch table. We took pictures with him. His friend came over. He offered us again to come to his house, and he told us about another band that was on the road. The guy, I guess, you know, needed a shower or whatever, and he took him to his house, let the guy shower, he cooked, fed for him, rested, and guy went back on the road. We just found that amazing. It was really mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, the reception.
Yeah. And it happened in every one of the states we went to, and including, you know, we played a festival last year in Ohio, and people were like, you know, "You guys need some place to rest." I mean, and we're like, you know, we're taken back by that because, you know, from New York, the people.
Somebody invites you to their house. You're like that guy has a shank waiting.
You start thinking. I watch horror films. We watch a lot of these sci-fis. We watch a lot of these Criminal Mind things. And you say, okay, I go to his house. I might be hanging off a meat clip or something, hanging on my intestines or something.
You'd be on the cover of the next Cannibal Corpse album.
You know?
But they were wonderful, wonderful people.
They were awesome.
Really wonderful people. Absolutely.
There was this one other guy, not to hold this up, but there was this other guy. He showed us pictures in his backyard. I think he's a contractor. I think he's a contractor, and he collected stones, right? And so he says, "Look at this." I'm looking. I said, "You put guitars in your ground?" He found all these like hundreds and hundreds of pieces of rocks, and his whole backyard looked like one big guitar.
Yep.
Made out of stones.
Wow.
It was amazing. And
he invited us for a barbecue.
He said, "I got some of the best bacon."
Absolutely.
You mentioned that. I love covering festivals in the Midwest as well. So
it was amazing, and he showed us these pictures, and I think he was trying to get it landmarked, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, he was trying to get it landmarked.
And I said, "Are you in the papers?" "Yeah, we've been in the papers, but I'm trying to get them to make this because I mean his whole backyard. Damn, it was just crazy. Like from the back of his house all the way out, it was like holy cow. And really awesome. I mean, it was amazing going on the road.
Awesome.
So we're looking forward to it again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. And the final question I want to ask you is just the annual plug. You know, you have the show at Blackthorn 51, March 20th, the day that the album comes out, In the Name of Freedom. Is there just any other tour dates you would like to promote? Anything else coming up that you're, of course, allowed to say?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We sure are. We actually booked a tour to support the launch of In the Name of Freedom. We're going to be going on April 25th. We're supporting Flotsam and Jetsam.
Oh, awesome.
We're also doing then May 2nd with Doro on the Chance. Then on May 3rd, we are in Sellersville, Pennsylvania. And then on the 4th, I don't remember, but it goes...
We go to Ohio, then Chicago, right?
Yeah, we go to Chicago, we go to Pennsylvania, and then we end up at Reggie's in Chicago, and then on the 11th, then we are supporting...
The 11th, we're supporting Flotsam and Jetsam.
Flotsam and Jetsam, yes.
In Dingbatch. The April 25th
is
we're in Long Island with Whiplash.
It's Whiplash.
Our boys with Whiplash.
Yeah.
Awesome.
3-piece monster band.
So it'll be 6 shows, and we're really excited. You know, with Dora, we actually get to be direct support with her. and we played with her twice before, so we're really excited about that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got a busy couple weeks ahead.
Yes, we
Yeah.
do.
Awesome.
Yes, we do.
But everybody, we are here with Lost Legacy in the Name of Freedom out March 20th. Be sure to pick that up then. We'll see you
Yeah.
next time.
See you next time.
See ya.
Keep it metal.